someone over there at Paramount has been cooking, and my goodness, they cooked up an absolutely crazy exciting announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a TMNT fan, hold on to your seats because The Last Ronin is getting a video game. Yes, you heard me correctly. Today we got the news story to break that TMNT The Last Ronin, the epic comic book storyline that in my opinion is honestly one of the modern day classics. This is going to be a book that I think years from now will be talked about in the same way that we talk about The Dark Knight Returns. I genuinely believe that. I think it's that good. It's a fantastic take on the TMNT mythos, making them a little bit more darker, kind of like the original comics were, but then at the same time still keeping it very modern and fresh, and also very intriguing. And for those that don't know what the Last Ronin storyline was, it was very cool. The idea was that there was this one soul turtle that is still alive, and part of the mystery really was trying to figure out who this particular turtle actually was over the course of the actual story. So a lot of us were making predictions about, is this Leo? Is this Donatello? Is this Michelangelo? Is this Raphael? Because the actual last remaining turtle had 4 weapons. He went ahead and rocked all 4 weapons. You know how we usually identify the turtles by either their headband or by their weapon of choice, like the nunchucks, the sai, the bow staff, or the katanas, of course. This one had all of them, and he rocked a black bandana. So it was just a really cool concept visually, but then the actual storyline itself was very cool. About essentially it's a bit of a revenge story, so it's almost kind of think a little bit John Wicky a little bit, but in a much more like ravaged and destroyed version of New York City. It's tonally fantastic. It has this very cool grittiness to it, but still has some really cool classic elements of TMNT. Well, now that particular comic book is getting turned into a video game, and not just any video game, because they are going all out for this. So Doug Rosen, who is going to be heading up, or at least for now, I guess, currently heading up the Paramount Global Games Department. He's the Senior Vice President for Games and Emerging Media at Paramount Global, went ahead and announced to Polygon that they are working on an upcoming third-person action role-playing game that will be very similar to Sony's recent God of War titles. I think that's insanely exciting. Just that alone on its surface is incredible. The fact that we're getting a TMNT game that will be AAA, meaning they're going all out and really spending up for this, which I think is very cool to see. But the fact that they're taking a really cool story in the form of The Last Ronin, and then the fact that it's going to be third-person action role-playing game that they're taking inspiration from things like the God of War titles. I mean, this is literally a dream video game. Now, I don't want to go on ahead and pour too much cold water on this whole situation, but the one negative bit of news on this is the fact that this is still a few years off, because Doug Rosen did go on ahead and specifically say that the Last Ronin video game adaptation is being developed by an unnamed studio and will be likely a few years from release, which is obviously unfortunate. But I also feel like the fact that they went ahead and did this interview and announced it indicates that they are probably relatively far along, because otherwise why would you even announce it to begin with? So I think that that's very exciting. I also am very curious to see who this unnamed studio is. That's another kind of concern here, is that it would be nice to actually know specifically who's working on this, because then we could start to kind of get an understanding of what to possibly expect from this game based on the pedigree of the people that are making the game. So unfortunately for now, we're going to have to hold tight for those additional pieces of information. Final detail that I wanted to highlight was the fact that Rosen did confirm that this will be a mostly single character game, based on the fact that, of course, it is The Last Ronin. I'm excited for that. As someone who loves single player games, I'm stoked to see that we're seeing kind of a recommitment from a lot of AAA studios and developers and publishers to the idea that, hey, you can make big single player experiences and people will show up as long as you make a great video game. So that is obviously quite exciting, but worry not if you're like, yo, but I don't want to just play as The Last Ronin, especially if you know who The Last Ronin is. Obviously, everybody has their own favorite Ninja Turtle. I'm not going to spoil it here for you guys as far as like who The Last Ronin is, just in case. But Obviously, if you know who the last turtle is, it was a bit of a surprise, and maybe some people don't really pick that turtle as their absolute favorite one. But worry not, because of how the storyline is structured, if they're following the comic book, and obviously they could expand on the comic book as well with a giant video game, but there's a bunch of flashback sequences that happen throughout the comic itself, so I'm sure that there will be an opportunity to actually play as some of the other characters that are within the story as well. So there you have it, guys. TMNT is getting a massive game release. I could not be more excited by this announcement. I am so stoked, and I cannot wait to see what this project turns out to be. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please don't forget to smash that thumbs up button and cowabunga, my dudes. I'll catch you on the next one.